Respected Swamiji, respected chairperson, brothers and sisters. Sister Padma was reminding me that last time I was here several years ago, and I had the benefit of having the darshan of Sadguru Ma and her blessings. So today also with her blessings, I propose to share my understanding of this subject. It's a great challenge. Nearly 20 learned speakers have spoken on the same subject, and so for me to speak on the same subject, and that too before lunch, and another speaker is waiting, so this is really a tough challenge. But I want to bring a new perspective, not very new, but slightly new to the whole issue. So I will confine myself to three things. What is a theosophical perspective I want to bring in? Then I want to concentrate on this concept of akarma particularly, because quite a lot has been spoken about the other points. And if time permitting, I wanted to also bring to your attention about liberation and renunciation. I think that's a very important point. So I hope you will bear with me. Now the theosophical perspective is simple. As you know, at the end of every chapter of Gita, we have that, what is it called? Puspika, right? Which says Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu. That means this is an Upanishad. I think we need to look at what is written there as if it is an Upanishad. It says Brahma VIJAYAN and Yoga Shastra. It is a yoga book, text of yoga, and it is of course a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. I want to concentrate on Brahma Vidya. So it is clearly said it is Brahma Vidya. And theosophy means divine knowledge, and in most Indian languages it is translated as Brahma Vidya. So when we look at it from a theosophical perspective, we find that Gita is a text of theosophy only. So therefore what I am going to present from a theosophical perspective is actually a Brahma Vidya perspective. So since it is a theosophical text, a lot of our renowned theosophists, Madam Blavatsky, the founder, Annie Besant, in fact her translation of the Gita is still one of the best sellers, and she learned Sanskrit here and then translated.
And produced at Adyar.
Produced at Adyar, yes. And I wanted to mention Swami T. Subbarao, many of you may not be knowing, Bhagwan Das, one of the early Bharat Ratnas, W.Q. Judge, and quite a few others, the theosophists, who have written on karma, and also the Mahatmas who are who are the inner founders of the society. So their letters also contain very valuable material on karma. I wanted to list what all has been written, but I am skipping that. I come to this question of akarma. We have been discussing Karya and Akarya, and many learned professors and scholars have dealt with it. And as that particular verse has been quoted again and again, Krishna saying that even the wise men are confused about karma and akarma. But I didn't see any confusion. All of them were very clear when they were talking about Karya and Akarya and identifying it as almost as karma, akarma. There was no confusion. Everybody said good action should be done, and everybody said the bad action should be done. So why is Krishna saying that even the wise men are confused about it, and I want to instruct you about it so that you will be freed from asubhat, from sin? I think this is a point we need to look at from a spiritual point of view, because it is a yoga shastra, it is a Brahma Vidya text, and we can't just look at it from the linguistic view, what is the meaning of the language. And then he goes on to say, you must understand what is karma, what is akarma, and he brings in a third word, what is vikarma. If we had dealt with two and we identify with Karya and Akarya, it was fine. It is like something called sukarma and duskarma, or vikarma is used. But obviously there is a new word introduced here, and that is akarma, and it definitely has a different connotation. And that is where I want to bring in this the theosophical concept, And theosophical concept is not necessarily a different concept. It is a viewpoint of a spiritual seeker. So bear with me for a few minutes. And he also says Gahana Karmana Gati. This has been understood as that karma is a difficult thing. No, he is not saying that. Karmana Gati, the way of the working of the karma, the law of karma, that is very difficult to understand. So there are three things: karma, akarma, vikarma, and also how the law of karma works. So this is what I thought. Let me just go through some of the points I listed here. Literally, karma means action, vikarma means wrong action, and akarma literally means inaction. When we write it could be inaction, non-action, or also sometimes the is added for opposite. But since we have a word vikarma already, so definitely akarma is not going to mean vikarma, duskarma. The list of which you open the daily newspaper, you will find what all is written there. Rape, murder, loot, corruption, all that I don't have to list what vikarma is. Okay. And the sukarma has been also explained, good karma, list 7 given. So therefore, not so much probably, but vikarma, good news is not news, bad news is news, isn't it?
Yeah, actually we are
so
good news reporter.
Okay, right. So Krishna enjoins that one should understand the nature of karma, nature of vikarma, and also the nature of akarma. He also hints at the nature of the law of karma when he says Gahana Karmano Gati. Mysterious is the path of action. That's what it means. One of the gems of theosophy titled Light on the Path, a text that comes from a Mahatma, has an essay on karma at the end of that book. And it echoes Krishna's words. It says the operations of the law of karma can be known by a disciple only when he has freed himself from these laws and when they no longer affect. If all of us are bound by the karma, we cannot venture to understand the law of karma. That is what it says. Those who are bound by karma cannot know the mysterious way the laws of karma works. Bondage of karma also ensures being bound to a cycle of birth and death. The goal of a spiritual seeker is therefore to be freed from the bondage. Krishna recognizes the confusion of even the learned about karma and akarma, and that is the reason he goes on to instruct about them so that one would follow the right course and be liberated. The goal can be achieved. If action binds, can non-action be the answer? This has been already talked about. That particular verse has been quoted, that nahi kinchit khenam api jatu tishtati akarmat. You cannot live even for a moment without doing action. So therefore this akarma cannot mean inaction at all, because action is imperative. No one can remain actionless even for a moment. It is further clarified in the 6th chapter that yogis and sannyasis are not those who are akriya and niragni. So even yogis have to do the work, they are not akriya. I think this was also mentioned. And then we were also told, but the yogis and sannyasis are those who do their ordained work without depending on the fruits of action. I think, madam, you mentioned that. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti ya. He is the yogi, not those who is akriya, right? I think I won't be able to do that.
Okay.
Because I am trying to canvass a different perspective. I found that what I am going to say will take not more than 18 minutes, but it will be difficult, right? Just 3 things I wanted to say. I am on the second thing. If ordinary men as well as yogis and sannyasis are required to work, then the question arises, what kind of work or action is desirable? What comes to mind are good action, sukarma, and wrong action or vikarma. Vikarma is clearly avoidable, and it is common belief that good karma or sukarma is desirable. According to tradition, the former takes one to narka, hell, and the later to swarga or heaven. So this is to be understood. Sukarma, good karma takes you to swarga, right? In theosophical parlance, the former results in longer stay in the astral world, and the later takes one to devachan. Good karma, however, does not entitle one to permanently stay in the heaven world. As the Gita itself says, having enjoyed the heaven world, with the good deeds exhausted, one comes back to the world. Hine punye marta lokam visanti. So therefore, what we have been discussing over the last 2 days, good karma, that is not the answer. Because you go to Swarga, but you have to come back here. So therefore, Krishna is definitely saying something more, which we need to find out. Good action and wrong action both have consequences, both cause bondage, and both lead to further birth and death again and again. From a theosophical point of view, action is not confined to mere physical action. Speech is also action, as also what we do on the emotional and mental plane. I think this needs to be emphasized also. If good and wrong action of all kinds are binding, what would get one freedom from bondage? In this context, one needs to understand the concept of akarma. Though literally it means non-action, it has a deeper meaning. Mere non-action can actually constitute wrong action. While commenting on this particular thing which Madam also dealt with, karmani akarmaya pasyet akarmani cha karmaya pasyet, Swami Subbarao gives an example. If one kills a man, it is murder. But suppose one refuses to feed one's old parents and they die in consequence of such neglect, one would certainly be responsible for such non-action. Akarma therefore does not mean either non-activity per se or refraining from what is required to be done. Johann Mascarov, who was a member of the Theosophical Society in Spain, translates akarma as work that is silence. It is work that produces no binding effect. That only is akarma. I think that was dealt briefly by both of you, the last two speakers. It is work to which one is not attached. It is not prompted by sense desires. Sri Krishna enjoins us to do that kind of work throughout the Gita. And there are several verses, let me just hint at few. Your business is with work only, never with the fruits. Let not fruit of action be your motive. This is very well known verse, karmani eva adhikarat. But this is, I think, often popularly misinterpreted, saying you keep on doing good work without bothering about the result. The result will come automatically. Sorry, that is not what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, it is made clear that you have no right in the results also. So I think that needs to be understood. Dr. Besant asks that fruits of such work belong to the Lord and the higher powers take that up and distribute to necessary ends. In verse 3.19, we are told to constantly perform action without attachment, by which one will reach the supreme. So I am not reciting this thing, but just the gist of it. Another verse says, the ignorant act from attachment to action, but the wise act without attachment for the welfare of the world. Loka Sangraha, that is what was mentioned by the governor yesterday also. While giving examples of Janaka and others who attained perfection by action, it is emphasized that one should work for the welfare of the world. Again, Loka Sangraha was mentioned in that verse also.
Are you on the third now?
I am on the second.
Oh,
I am trying to say what is that?
Yeah. Just keep
I think the suggestion Swamiji said was good. Because we have come from all the distance. I want to make a point. If you don't want to hear, I can stop
No,
here.
it's not that. I'm just doing my job.
Okay. Okay. Gita also, I'm really going fast. Gita also uses another expression more than once, which is Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata in different places. Those who are constantly working for the welfare of all. So what is being said that without attachment, without looking at the fruits of action and for the welfare of all and for the Loka Sangraha, so that kind of work is being mentioned in Gita throughout. There are many such examples of this. In the world we see that ordinary men and women are driven to action by sense desires, selfish motives, wishing for fruits of action. On the other hand, Theosophy and Gita speak of action without attachment, without desire, without selfish motive, and for the welfare of the world. Krishna further says, there is another strain of verses, he says all actions should be renounced in him. intent on his service, perform all action for myself, that is Krishna, and renounce all fruits of action. Then he goes on to say that renouncing fruits of action is better than meditation, acquiring wisdom, and even constant spiritual practice. This is that dhyana karma phala tyaga. There is, however, no conflict in the direction to work for Krishna and to work for the welfare of the world. After all, is the Jagat not a manifestation of Jagannath? Is he not called Jagat Nivasa? So there is no difference between Jagat and Jagannath, and we can work for a statue or we work for his manifestation, which is all beings. Is he not described as Sahasra Sirsa, comprising all the sentient beings, when it is said Sahasra Sirsa Purusa? It is not that somebody having 1,000 heads, it actually means all of us combined together. We thus derive a working definition of akarma. It is not inactivity but silent action which is selfless, which is for the benefit of all, where there is no attachment and no desire for the fruits of action. And such action is non-binding, and therefore it is liberating. Gita is not providing a mere theory or idle philosophy of akarma, but shows a way forward to spiritual seekers to progress on the path by performing such liberating action. I suppose all of us know there is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, and what is required of us is walking the path. At the end of Krishna Arjuna's dialogue, Arjuna does not merely say, my delusion is gone, my awareness is back, Smruti Labdha, etc. I am firm and free from doubt, Gata Sandeha or something. But he also goes on to say, this is the very last phrase in the dialogue, that Karishye Vachanam Tava. What you have explained, what you have instructed, I have understood it, but I will do it. I think for understanding Gita and the instructions, what is important is not mere understanding and writing papers, giving talks or writing books, but to follow that. Karishye Vachanam Tava. So, may we also walk the path shown by Krishna. There is the third point I want to mention it. Swami, if you permit me, because this is something very important. Before closing, may I say something about what everyone considers to be the ultimate goal. It is variously described as mukti, moksha, nirvana, liberation, salvation, etc. in different traditions. In theosophy, it is emphasized not to aspire for personal attainments, including moksha, but to serve our fellow beings. A theosophist lives for others, not for himself. Our founder, Madame Blavatsky, emphasized service as an important component of theosophical work apart from study and meditation. Dr. Besant says theosophic life is a life of service. Another theosophic gem, the voice of the silence, dwells at length on the two paths, the path of liberation and the path of renunciation. There is a similar approach in the Buddhist tradition in the form of Bodhisattva Bhav, where Nirvana is not taken by a would-be Buddha, but he continues working for the upliftment of the suffering beings. A closer look at the Hindu tradition points to a similar teaching. It is said that Lord Hanuman did not agree to take moksha, but to stay on, to continually serve. Chaitanya did not ask for moksha either. He prayed for capacity for devotional service life after life. Janmani Janmani. Sankaracharya says to the same effect in VIJAYAN. This is a very well-known verse. Shanta Mahanto Nivasanti Santo Vasantavat Lokahitam Charanta Tirna Swayam Bhima Bhavarnavang Janan Ahetuna Anyan Api Tarayanta. The Mahatmas continue to serve the humanity. Both Chaitanya and Sankaracharya use the expression ahetuki or ahetuna, meaning without any motive. Service without any motive is what is also implied in our understanding of akarma. The final chapter of Gita is titled as Moksha Sannyasi Yoga. Most translators have translated this as liberation by renunciation. I think Yogi Sri Krishna Prem, the saint of Uttar Vrindavan in Mirtola, has captured the true spirit of Krishna's teaching, translating it as renunciation of liberation. renouncing the bliss of liberation and continuing to work for the suffering humanity without any motive is certainly the highest ideal. I am sure in her subtle body, even Sadguru Ma Gyananandji is also working for the benefit of mankind, including for all of us. Namaste to her and namaste to all.
Thank you.